Dad left house to me. Sister is furious and accusing me of stealing her inheritance and ruining her life. I am Ryan, 29 years old, and my sister is Isabella. She is 32. We are talking about my dad's inheritance and a whole lot of family drama that has exploded since he passed away last month. To give you some background, Isabella and I have always had a pretty classic sibling dynamic. She was the firstborn, the high achiever, the one who always got praised for everything. I was more of the quiet, easygoing kid, always in her shadow. It was never malicious, just the way things were. My parents loved us both, of course, but Isabella was definitely the star. Dad, Mr. David, he was a good man, worked hard his whole life. Mom, Mrs. Susan, she is Mom. They had a solid marriage, and their house, the one we grew up in, was their pride and joy. It is a modest place, nothing fancy, but filled with memories. Dad always said he wanted to leave it to us, his kids, to keep in the family. We always just assumed it would be split somehow, fair and square. Then Dad got sick really suddenly. It was a shock for everyone. He was gone in a matter of weeks. It was awful. Dealing with the grief was hard enough, and then came the will reading. That is when everything went completely sideways. So we are all in the lawyer's office, Mom, Isabella, and me. The lawyer starts reading Dad's will, and it is pretty standard stuff until we get to the part about the house. And then it is like a bomb went off. Dad left the entire house to me. Not split between Isabella and me, not even Mom got it outright, just me. I was stunned. I looked over at Isabella, and her face was turning redder and redder. Mom was just silent, looking down at her hands. After the lawyer finished, Isabella just exploded. She stood up and started yelling. I'm not even kidding, yelling. She said something like, "This is ridiculous, this must be a mistake, Dad would never do this." She was practically screaming about how she was the older child, how she always took care of Dad, how she deserved the house more than me. It was intense, to say the least. I was just sitting there, completely speechless. I did not know what to say. I was surprised too. I never expected to inherit the house outright. I always thought it would be split or something. But here we are. Dad's will said what it said. Mom tried to calm Isabella down, but it was no use. Isabella kept going on and on about how unfair it was, how I must have somehow manipulated Dad into changing his will at the last minute. Manipulated him, I know, right? Like I have some kind of secret power to control my dying father's mind. It is insane. I would never do that even if I could. And honestly, Dad was always his own man. No one could manipulate him into anything he did not want to do. We left the lawyer's office with Isabella still fuming. Mom was quiet and upset, and I was just trying to process everything. The next few days were a nightmare. Isabella called me non-stop, sending angry texts, leaving voicemails. It was all the same stuff, how I had stolen her inheritance, how I was ruining her life, how Dad must have been confused or not in his right mind when he made the will. She even started calling our relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, telling them all about how I had cheated her out of her rightful inheritance. It was so embarrassing. Suddenly, everyone in the family was taking sides. Some were calling me, asking what happened, some were calling Mom, and some were even calling Isabella, agreeing with her and telling her how unfair it was. Mom, bless her heart, was trying to play peacemaker, but honestly, she was just making things worse. She kept saying things like, "Well, Isabella is just upset, you know how she gets. And maybe you should just talk to her, Ryan, and see if you can work something out." Work something out? What does that even mean? Give her half the house that Dad left entirely to me. I tried talking to Isabella, I really did. I called her and said, "Isabella, can we please just talk about this calmly?" I did not ask Dad to leave me the house. I was just as surprised as you were. Maybe we can figure something out together. She just laughed, a really nasty laugh, and said, "Figure something out? There is nothing to figure out, Ryan. You stole my inheritance. You always were jealous of me, and now you finally got what you wanted, to take something away from me." I replied, "Isabella, that is not true. I am not jealous of you, and I did not steal anything. Dad made his decision. We have to respect that." She just hung up on me. That was the end of that conversation. Since then, it has just been a constant stream of negativity from her. She has told everyone that I am greedy, selfish, and that I never cared about Dad as much as she did. Which is completely untrue. I loved Dad very much. We were close, maybe not in the same way she was, but we had our own bond. To be honest, Isabella was always more of the caretaker type. She was always fussing over Dad, making sure he was okay, helping him with things around the house. I am not like that. I am more the show up when needed, be there for the big stuff kind of son. but that does not mean I loved him any less. And here is the thing that is really getting to me. Isabella keeps saying that she needs the house more than I do. She says she has always dreamed of living there, raising her family there. Okay, first of all, Isabella is not even married and she does not have any kids. Last I checked, she was still dating that Mr. Chad who works at the gym and spends more time on his biceps than on her. No offense to Mr. Chad, but he does not exactly scream settling down and starting a family. I, on the other hand, am actually married. My wife Jenna and I have been together for 5 years, married for 3. We are renting a small apartment right now, saving up to buy a place. We have talked about starting a family soon. The house would be perfect for us. It is bigger than our apartment, it has a yard, and it is in a good neighborhood. It would be a real step up for us. But I have not even told Isabella about our plans to start a family. I'm afraid if I do, she will just use it as more ammunition against me, saying that I am just trying to rub it in her face that I am getting the house and she is not. Mom keeps suggesting that maybe I should just sell the house and split the money with Isabella. She says it would be the easiest way to avoid all this family drama and keep the peace. But why should I? Dad left the house to me. It is my inheritance. Why should I give half of it to Isabella just because she is throwing a tantrum? It does not seem fair at all. And honestly, selling the house is not really what I want to do anyway. Like I said, Jenna and I could really use the house. It would be a huge help for us financially, and it would be amazing to live in the house I grew up in, to raise my own kids there someday. It feels like it would be carrying on Dad's legacy in a way. But the family drama is really getting to me. It is like every conversation with Mom or any relative now revolves around the house and Isabella's anger. I am tired of it. I'm starting to feel guilty, even though I know I have done nothing wrong. Isabella is making me feel like I am a terrible person for inheriting the house that my own father left to me. I have even started second-guessing myself. Maybe I should just sell the house and split the money. Maybe it would be easier in the long run. Maybe it is not worth all this family conflict. But then I think about Dad and his will and how he specifically wanted me to have the house. And I think about Jenna and our future and how much the house would mean to us. And I just cannot bring myself to give it up. So Reddit, I am turning to you for some advice. Am I the asshole here? Am I being selfish for wanting to keep the house that my dad left to me? Should I just sell it and split the money to keep the peace in the family, even though it is not what I want and not what Dad wanted? I am really confused and stressed out about this whole situation. Any perspective would be appreciated. I am prepared for the Reddit armchair psychologists to analyze this situation. Bring it on. I'm just hoping for some honest opinions and maybe some advice on how to deal with Isabella and this whole inheritance nightmare. Thanks, Reddit. Update 1. Wow, I'm actually kind of amazed at how many of you responded to my original post. I really did not expect so many people to weigh in on my family drama. It is actually kind of comforting to know I am not alone in dealing with inheritance issues and crazy family members. So thanks, Reddit, for all the support and advice. Okay, so a lot of you are saying the same thing. I am definitely in TA. Isabella is being entitled and unreasonable, and I should absolutely keep the house that Dad left to me. That is honestly really reassuring to hear. Sometimes when you are in the middle of family drama, you start to doubt yourself and wonder if you are the crazy one. It helps to have objective strangers online tell you that you are not. A lot of you also asked about why Dad might have left the house to me and not Isabella. Honestly, I do not know for sure. Dad was not one for explaining his decisions in detail. He was just kind of a man of action, you know. But I have a few theories, based on things he said over the years and just knowing our family dynamic. First, like I mentioned in my original post, Isabella was always the golden child, the one who got everything she wanted. Maybe Dad thought she was already well taken care of and that I needed the help more. Jenna and I are renting, struggling to save for a down payment on a house. Isabella, on the other hand, is doing pretty well financially. She has a good job, no debt, and she lives in a nice apartment that Mom and Dad actually helped her pay for a few years ago. So maybe Dad figured she did not need the house as much as we do. Second, and this is just a theory, but maybe Dad knew that Isabella would be more likely to sell the house if she inherited it. Isabella is not really sentimental about things like that. She is more practical and materialistic, to be honest. She might have just seen the house as a financial asset to be sold and split. Dad, on the other hand, was very sentimental about the house. He lived there his whole life. He loved that place. Maybe he knew that I would be more likely to keep the house in the family and cherish it, like he did. Third, and this is a little bit more personal, but maybe Dad just knew me better. Isabella and Dad had a certain kind of relationship, very focused on her accomplishments and needs. My relationship with Dad was different. We connected more on a quieter, deeper level. We shared a love for fishing and being outdoors. We would spend hours together in silence, just enjoying each other's company. Maybe Dad just felt a closer connection to me in his own way, and that is reflected in his will. I do not know for sure, of course, but whatever Dad's reasons were, he made his decision. And I think we should respect that, even if Isabella does not. Speaking of Isabella, things have actually gotten worse since my original post. She has escalated her campaign against me. She started calling my in-laws, Jenna's parents, telling them all about how I am a terrible person and how I stole her inheritance. That was really crossing a line. Jenna's parents are really nice people, but they are also kind of old-fashioned and family-oriented. They were definitely taken aback by Isabella's calls. Jenna had to have a long talk with them to explain the whole situation and reassure them that I am not some kind of evil villain. Then, Isabella took it to social media. Oh yes, Reddit, she went full public meltdown on Facebook. She posted a long, rambling rant about how her brother, me, had betrayed her and stolen her inheritance and ruined her life. She did not mention my name specifically, but it was pretty obvious who she was talking about. She even posted pictures of our childhood home, with captions like, "This should have been mine and my heart is broken." It was so dramatic and embarrassing. My friends started texting me, asking if everything was okay and if that was my sister posting all that crazy stuff online. I was furious. I called Isabella and told her to take down the Facebook post immediately. I said, "Isabella, this is insane. You are making a fool of yourself and embarrassing the whole family. Take it down now." She just laughed and said, "Why should I? It is the truth. Everyone needs to know what you did to me. You are a thief and a liar." I replied, "I am not a thief or a liar. Dad left me the house. Get over it. And if you do not take down that post, I am going to block you on everything, and I am not going to talk to you again until you apologize." She just hung up on me again. So I blocked her on Facebook, Instagram, everything. I needed to create some distance from her negativity. It was exhausting dealing with her constant attacks. Mom is still trying to mediate, but she is really not helping. She called me yesterday and said, "Ryan, you need to be understanding of Isabella. She is really hurting. Maybe you should just give her something, to make her feel better." I said, "Mom, I am not giving her anything. Dad left me the house. That is the end of it, and Isabella needs to stop acting like a spoiled child. She is 32 years old, not 5. Mom sighed and said, "Well, I just want you two to get along. Your father would have wanted you to be a family." I said, "Mom, Isabella is the one who is ruining the family, not me. I am willing to talk to her like an adult, but she is acting completely irrational. Until she can calm down and apologize for her behavior, there is nothing to talk about. So, that is where things stand now. Isabella is still furious, Mom is still trying to play peacemaker, and I am just trying to protect my peace and my inheritance. Jenna has been amazing through all of this, by the way. She is so supportive and understanding. She keeps telling me to ignore Isabella and focus on our future. She is definitely my rock in all this craziness. I'm still planning to keep the house. I think it is the right thing to do, both for myself and for Dad's memory. But the family drama is definitely taking a toll. I'm hoping that eventually Isabella will calm down and come to terms with the will. But honestly, at this point, I'm not holding my breath. Thanks again for all your advice and support, Reddit. It really does help to know I am not alone in this. I will keep you updated if anything else develops. Update 2. Okay, Reddit, another update on the inheritance drama. And things have taken another turn, surprise, surprise. This time it involves Mom, and honestly, I am starting to feel like I am living in some kind of soap opera. So, remember how I said Mom was trying to play peacemaker, but not really helping? Well, she has now taken things to a whole new level. She called me yesterday, sounding all sweet and innocent, and asked if I could come over to the house for dinner. She said she wanted to talk about Dad and just spend some time together as a family. I was a little hesitant, especially since Isabella has been completely toxic, but I thought, okay, maybe Mom is actually trying to do something positive here. Maybe she has talked to Isabella and she is finally ready to apologize or at least be civil. So, I went over to the house last night. Mom had cooked dinner and she was all smiles when I arrived. Isabella was there too, sitting on the couch looking surprisingly calm. I was still wary, but I thought, okay, maybe this is actually going to be a peaceful family dinner. Wishful thinking, I know. We sat down to eat, and for a few minutes it was actually okay. We talked about Dad, shared some memories, and it was almost normal. Almost. Then Mom started steering the conversation towards the house. Here we go, I thought. She said, Ryan, honey, I have been thinking a lot about the house, and about Isabella's feelings. And I think I have come up with a solution that might work for everyone. I just nodded, waiting to hear what brilliant idea she had come up with. Mom continued, well, I was thinking, maybe you could just give the house to Isabella. I almost choked on my water. Give the house to Isabella, did I hear her right? I stared at Mom, completely dumbfounded. I said, Mom, are you serious? Give the house to Isabella? Dad left the house to me. Why would I just give it to her? Mom said, well, honey, think about it. Isabella really wants the house. She has always dreamed of living here. And you and Jenna, you are young, you can always buy another house. It is not like you desperately need this one. I could not believe what I was hearing. Not desperately need it, we are renting a tiny apartment, saving every penny to buy a place, and she is saying we do not desperately need a house. And Isabella, who already lives in a nice apartment that my parents helped pay for, she desperately needs it. It made absolutely no sense. I replied, Mom, with all due respect, that is ridiculous. Dad left me the house for a reason. I'm not just going to give it away to Isabella because she wants it and you think it would be a nice gesture. Isabella, who had been silent up until this point, finally chimed in. She said, see, Mom, I told you he was selfish and greedy. He does not care about anyone but himself. He just wants to take everything for himself and leave me with nothing. I turned to Isabella and said, Isabella, that is not true. I am not selfish or greedy. Dad left me the house. Why is it so hard for you to accept that? And by the way, you are not left with nothing. You have a good job, a nice apartment, and you have always been financially supported by Mom and Dad. I am not taking anything away from you. Isabella scoffed and said, oh, financially supported. You make it sound like I am some kind of charity case. Dad just wanted to help me get started in life, unlike you, who always had everything handed to him on a silver platter. I was about to argue with her, but then Mom interrupted. She said, stop it, both of you. This is not helping. Ryan, I am just asking you to consider it. Think about how much it would mean to Isabella. Think about keeping the peace in the family. Is the house really worth all this fighting? I stood up from the table, completely frustrated. I said, Mom, yes, the house is worth fighting for. It is my inheritance. It is what Dad wanted. And I am not going to just give it away to Isabella because she is throwing a tantrum and you want to avoid conflict. I am leaving. I cannot believe you would even suggest this. I walked out of the house, leaving Mom and Isabella sitting there in stunned silence. I was so angry and disappointed. I could not believe that Mom was actually siding with Isabella in this. I thought she would be more supportive of me, more respectful of Dad's wishes. But I guess I was wrong. I called Jenna on the way home and told her everything that happened. She was just as shocked and angry as I was. She said, Ryan, that is unbelievable. Your own mother is trying to pressure you into giving away your inheritance. That is insane. You absolutely should not give Isabella the house. It is yours. Your dad wanted you to have it. Do not let them bully you into giving it up. Jenna is right, of course. I am not going to give Isabella the house. It is mine and I am going to keep it. But I am really hurt and disappointed by Mom's behavior. I feel like she is choosing Isabella over me, just like she always has. It is like I am invisible to her, unless I am doing exactly what Isabella wants. I am starting to think that maybe I need to distance myself from my family for a while. This whole inheritance drama is just too toxic and draining. I need to focus on my own life, my marriage, and my future with Jenna. Maybe in time, Isabella will calm down and Mom will come to her senses. But until then, I need to protect myself and my own well-being. So Reddit, what do you think? Am I overreacting? Am I being too harsh on Mom? Should I try to talk to her again or just cut my losses and distance myself from the whole family drama? I am really at a loss here. This whole inheritance situation has turned into a complete nightmare, and I am not sure how much more of it I can take. Any advice or perspective would be greatly appreciated. Final update. Okay, Reddit, I have a final update on the inheritance saga, and you will not believe what happened. Well, maybe some of you will, because you guys are pretty good at predicting family drama. But anyway, here is the latest and hopefully last chapter in this whole mess. After the disastrous dinner at Mom's house, where she suggested I just give the house to Isabella, I was feeling pretty low. I was hurt, angry, and honestly just exhausted by the whole situation. Jenna was amazing, as always. She listened to me vent, she reassured me that I was doing the right thing, and she encouraged me to stand my ground. She is truly the best. The next day, I decided to take some of Reddit's advice and get some legal counsel. I called a lawyer who specializes in estate law and explained the whole situation to him. He listened patiently, asked a few questions, and then told me, "Ryan, you are in a very strong position legally. Your father's will is clear. The house is yours. Your sister has no legal claim to it. You are under no obligation to give her anything." That was really reassuring to hear. It confirmed what I already knew in my heart, but it was good to have a legal professional validate it. The lawyer also advised me to communicate with Isabella and Mom only in writing from now on, and to document everything. He said it was important to protect myself legally, just in case Isabella decided to escalate things further. So I took his advice. I sent a formal email to both Mom and Isabella. In the email, I stated clearly and calmly that I was the sole inheritor of the house according to Dad's will, that I intended to keep the house, and that I was not going to engage in any further discussions about changing Dad's will. I also said that I was willing to have a civil conversation with them about moving forward as a family, but only if they could respect Dad's wishes and my inheritance. I ended the email by saying that I loved them both, but I needed to protect my own interests and my own well-being. I sent the email and then just waited. I did not expect anything to change overnight, but I felt like I had at least taken a stand and set some boundaries. To my surprise, Isabella actually responded to my email within a few hours, and her response was not what I expected at all. She wrote back a surprisingly calm and almost apologetic email. She said that she had been thinking a lot about everything, and she realized that she had been acting irrationally and unfairly. She admitted that she was very hurt and disappointed by Dad's will, but she understood that it was his decision, and she needed to respect it. She even apologized for her behavior, for calling my in-laws, for the Facebook posts, for everything. She said she was willing to accept that the house was mine, and she wanted to try to move forward and rebuild our relationship as siblings. I was honestly stunned. I read her email over and over again, just to make sure I was not hallucinating. Isabella apologizing, being reasonable, accepting Dad's will. It seemed too good to be true. I cautiously replied to her email, thanking her for her apology and saying that I was also willing to move forward and rebuild our relationship. I suggested we meet for coffee to talk things through in person. She agreed. We met for coffee a few days later, just the two of us, and it was actually nice. Isabella was surprisingly calm and reasonable. She explained that she had been so caught up in her grief and her disappointment about the will that she had not been thinking clearly. She said she realized that the house was just a material possession, and it was not worth ruining our relationship over. She even admitted that she had been jealous of me for a long time, and that her anger about the will was partly fueled by that jealousy. We talked for hours, really talked, for maybe the first time in years. We apologized to each other, we shared memories of Dad, and we even laughed a little. It was like a huge weight had been lifted off both of our shoulders. We left the coffee shop feeling like we were actually siblings again, not adversaries in an inheritance battle. Mom has also calmed down a lot since then. She called me after Isabella and I met for coffee, and she was so relieved that we had reconciled. She apologized for pressuring me to give the house to Isabella, and she admitted that she had been wrong to interfere. She said she just wanted us all to be happy and get along. So, where do things stand now? Well, Isabella and I are actually talking again and even starting to rebuild our relationship. It is not perfect, and there is still some awkwardness, but it is a million times better than it was a few weeks ago. Mom is also much more relaxed and supportive. The family drama has finally subsided. And the house? Well, Jenna and I are moving in next month. We are so excited to start our new life in the house I grew up in. It feels like a fresh start, but also like we are honoring Dad's memory and keeping his legacy alive. We are planning to fix it up, make it our own, and hopefully raise our own family there someday. So Reddit, that is the end of my inheritance saga. It was a wild ride, full of drama, anger, and hurt feelings. But in the end, things actually worked out for the best. I kept the house, I reconciled with my sister, and I even improved my relationship with my mom. It is not exactly the happy ending I would have imagined, but it is a positive resolution nonetheless. and I learned a valuable lesson about family, inheritance, and the importance of standing up for yourself, while also being open to forgiveness and reconciliation. Thanks again to everyone on Reddit for your advice, support, and perspective. You guys really helped me get through this crazy time. And to those of you dealing with your own family drama, hang in there. It might seem impossible now, but things can get better. Sometimes all it takes is a little bit of legal advice, a formal email, and a surprisingly calm conversation over coffee. Who knew? So Reddit AITAH for keeping my inheritance? Definitely not, and I am finally at peace with that. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.